Now, what name was next?
But,
What?
when a parent names it,
Really?
you know,
I guess the name
Rock,
Rock, but when a parent names his kid Rock, we have to wonder what the parent was thinking. Kid obviously is going to get teased in school when he's a little kid. He's going to have to live with that and figure out how to get through that. Much worse than the name Donald, where they get Donald Duck. Rock is a horrible name to give to a kid. But they do come out of that pretty strong because of that, and maybe that's what they were thinking. Got Rock, who ends up being a movie star. And then you've got your Rock Riddles, or bit part actors who do okay because their name is Rock. Throw a rock into the acting profession and you get looked at before anybody else of his name. Rock Hudson, Rock Riddle, Rock, Kid Rock. People are all going to end up in the front row because they got a name that's made out of a stone. You got Marty. Marty is usually a loner. Usually a very thin person. He could be a comedian, a clerk, or he might try to own his own business. Marty, very similar to Martin. Marty is a completely different name. Marty and Martin end up doing two very different things. And then you got Benny. Bennies are the name of pills, and they're also comedians. They end up being very funny because the name Benny, just like Jerry, and Marty, and Teddy, very snappy names, and they end up doing whatever they want to do because they're laughed at all the time. So they grow up very strong, do whatever they want. Somebody suggested that we do the name Ulysses. Ulysses is such a name that the only thing possible for the swordsman in infantry or a kind of motorcycle gang, Civil War, he'd be a leader of some kind, a sergeant or a general. Usually would go by his name, his middle initial, and then his last name. Ulysses could be a god, water god. Might have a job as a disciple, along with, Paul and Ringo and Luke and Matthew. They all get together, get jobs as disciples. Not sure how many openings there are for disciples these days. I think the LA Times has a few. The Washington Post has a couple of them. And that's about it. Maybe the Inquirer. That would be a whole different deal there. That'd make a mockery, I think, of discipleship. And I don't think they'd prefer to work there if they didn't have to. They might have to start out there, just like some guys have to start out in the minor leagues of baseball before they can play Major League Baseball. So Ulysses, Peter, Paul, and Mary, Mark, and Luke, and Matthew are all pretty much predestined. They don't get a lot of choices. Most of the choices were made for them when their parents gave them that name. Not a lot they can do about that. Don't forget the name Terry. Terry is an unusual name because Terry, usually a very smart person, a very intelligent, book-smart kind of guy, do a lot of stuff because he's smart. He's an average-looking guy with an average build, can possibly play sports. He's a defensive end or an outfielder, baseball. They're non-confrontational. They just live and let live. Harrys are usually pretty good folks. Not a lot of Dans in basketball. You could have a Dana Bobs, Dana Lena, or Rosanna Dana Bana. Not a lot of Dans, and so Dans are usually in football and baseball, possibly Soccers. Soccers? What? Soccer? I never played soccer, but sure what they call it. Now, you've got, let's see, what name was next? What? What? Martin? Well, Martin is just a generic Jerry or a Phil. It's the same pretty much. You got your law clerks, your clerks, and your grocery store baggers. Martins are usually not very athletic. Might be somewhat book smart. Might become actors or musicians. They go by the name Marty if they do that. Martys are also mechanics. Martins are usually not. You don't have a lot of auto mechanics named Martin. Marty's got a few.